The views and opinions expressed in the Golden Boot podcast are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Golden Boot podcast as a whole.
Y'all ready to get rolling? Quiet on the set. Hey, welcome back. Another hot episode of HBCU Hour. It's your boy Pooh Bell and Petty Murphy in the building. What's good with you, my boy?
What's good with him, man?
Hey, man. Hey, back. I you know what I realized with doing media day and stuff. I have done a show every day this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did a little double duty today. I did radio today instead of Friday. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm right there with you, you know.
Oh no! I think I know why. You did radio today, so you can play college football all day tomorrow. You ain't slick. You think you slick?
Maybe that may be the reason, you know.
So I feel a little tickle in my throat, Fox. I might need to take off for tomorrow. Let me go ahead and knock it out today. Man, I don't blame you, man. I don't blame you. Tomorrow is my off Friday.
Yeah.
Dylan and the missus, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to her because I asked her to, you know, some GameStop doing that release, but we got a show. Show must go on. Say, will you, what you do? A poor little fella a favor. Hey, sweet thing, you do a favor. Go pick that thing up for me.
Yeah, I ain't even gonna set myself up on that one.
Nah, don't do. You pushing your luck already, my boy. Yeah, pushing your luck already. But man, we got a good one tonight. We got two of the best in the business. We talk about play by play. One of somebody who. Y'all know I ain't gotta really give him an introduction, but y'all know Al B Score. Y'all know our good man Jamie. And then Kelly Flicks, all the way out in California. That boy know more college football, HBCU football than anything. So shout out to the fellas getting ready to join us because we gotta talk D2 football, man. We didn't do it last year. Yeah, we didn't do it last year, not enough. So definitely want to give them a shout out, get a good preview. Wore my Tuskegee shirt today, representing for my cuz.
Yeah,
and my sister, man. My sister just graduated from Tuskegee.
That's what's up, man.
So yeah, gotta represent for them. And yeah, we go ahead and get started because that game will be here soon. So soon as we end the show, sooner we make sure we bring y'all this good content. Soon y'all can digest it. So, but y'all know what we gotta do first. We gotta give a shout out to our sponsors over at BetOnline. BetOnline.ag. We'll be back in 1 minute. BetOnline.ag is your number one source for all your sports information, stats, news, and scores. Get the latest odds, lines, and player injury reports for this year's NBA and NHL playoffs. BetOnline is always your sports information headquarters. This season, we have you covered for all your sports wagering needs. We have everything from NBA, NFL, MLB, and NHL to golf, tennis, UFC, and boxing. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info, including live betting options and your favorite casino and card games that you can play right from your home. Head on over to betonline.ag today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Be sure to use the promo code BLEAV to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. Like I said, this man don't need no introduction. happy to see him on Tuesday, man. Our good man, Jamie Albee Score Walker, back in the building with us.
My people, how you doing, Pooh Bear Ant? What's the business, sir?
What's happening with the brother?
What's good, man? Man, Jamie,
Man,
I know I talked to you a little bit on Tuesday. How's the family? I know I asked about baby girl. How's the how was I don't know what to call him, Pimp C. Every time I see him, he got a little honey around him or something going on.
Man, that dude is something, man. He getting tall. You know what I'm saying? Bass in his voice. I still hit him in his chest though.
Yeah,
he don't know.
Gotta let him know who the man around the house, huh?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Listen, until he start paying bills. Listen,
bro.
Hey,
let him know.
I say go, but you know how it was when you're 13 years old, man. So
right.
That dude, you know,
start feeling yourself a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. God bless her soul. My mama did me the same way. Oh, I don't care if you tall, right there in the center.
Yeah.
Miss that little woman. But yeah, man. All is well. I can't complain.
Yeah, you just gave me I've been, I guess, in my own way, Dylan too small for me to hit him in his chest. But I caught him on that game and I let him know then, you know, who still run things around here. So but man, it was I didn't talk. We did a recap show at Swat Media Day. Had Blue Doc Holiday on. I'm gonna get your thought before we move on to D2. Your thoughts on kind of what you saw with all the fellas, all, you know, saying all the guys in the SWAT.
Man, listen. I think really, like all these conferences, man, the biggest thing as far as trying to rank any system, unlike your P4s and everybody else, the roster's not settled yet, man. And so when you're talking about, you know, still bringing players in, and I think that was the theme of really the entire you know, media day in general, was that people still trying to settle positions. You know, Coach Cozy at FAMU still trying to get a quarterback, or even though he got a pretty good idea. And a lot of them have, you know, those general pieces in that that they want, but I think people are still trying to settle into what those positions are. Even coaches, they're still staffs not completed yet. So, you know, when we're talking about ranking these teams above or whatever, yeah, there's some teams with some clear-cut, you know, folks that are in place. And they have a right to absolutely be, you know, ahead of the game right now, maybe even rank as such. But, you know, I think we got to give it a little more time. Let these fall camps get in and let things settle where they may.
Yeah. I might be in a little bit more trouble. I just it started raining.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man. Let me hurry up and get through this show. So let me ask this. It was a lot of people kind of upset with the ranking orders of you know, order finish. And it was people, you know.
Let me ask you this: who was the most upset about that?
Oh,
it's hard to say. I'm gonna tell you, Jamie, go ahead. I'll let you say. Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple people. Jackson State,
of course.
You know what I'm saying? Florida A&M was upset too, being in the defending champs.
Yeah.
I don't think they were as vocal from what I saw. But definitely Jackson State was upset. And to a degree, I'm not gonna say rightfully so, but that's a proud program based on who they had coming back. You know, they were upset both at, you know, where they were going to be placed and, you know, some people they had in the rankings as far as, you know, first team, all SWAC, you know, preseason first team, of course. But yeah, they felt like, you know, they had some players that absolutely should have been up there amongst the best, including, you know, their quarterback coming back, Ja'Cory Morgan. So, you know, when you're talking about a player, he didn't play all the games last year, but I think when you're talking about the signal caller coming back and that offense being what it has the potential to be this year, along with Irv Mulligan, they absolutely, were scratching their heads talking about who voted for this. So yeah, they were definitely vocal because there were a lot of pro Jackson State people at the
as always. So my question was, I was kind of wondering how upset PV was.
So here's the funny thing about it. There was, and Jamie's right. Jackson State was upset. A lot of people upset for Jackson State. It was a lot of people that were still upset that Jackson State was too. They were like, "Why is Jackson State so high?" It's people. It's literal people on under our video and that are arguing about that now. People, I didn't hear necessarily a lot of people say Alcorn shouldn't have been one, but I heard a lot of people saying, "Why wasn't PV?"
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what I was hearing. So it's interesting.
Same thing too. I definitely heard from a few of the PV contingents that hey,
third. I'm sorry, third. They were third. Yeah, my apologies.
Yeah, I mean
people still
they
upset about
their respect.
So it's interesting. Very interesting. But man, Jamie, do want to, saying we got you so we can talk some D2, SIAC, CIAA. First, man, I want to look back on last year. Benedict won it all again, second straight year for the SIAC. But Benedict's, head man is gone, along with a lot of those players. Yeah, a lot of those players. They're not South Carolina State. Who finished? Was it Miles that finished second? Or who was it that finished second?
Albany State finished second.
Albany State, yeah.
Okay.
Albany State. Man, then you had the Florida Bowl. First thing, saying the inaugural Florida Bowl where we saw was it Johnson? I can't even remember who played. It was
John C. Smith University and Fort Valley.
Fort Valley. Great game. Phenomenal game, despite the weather. Great game, great commentary. I'm actually looking forward to that bowl at the end of the season this year. But I'm kind of wondering, we know it's going to be somebody else atop the hill in the SIAC this year. Was it Miles? If I'm not mistaken, Miles was voted to win the SIAC. Do I have that correct, or did I make that up in my head?
No, you didn't make it up. They were close. Albany State is actually picked to win this year, and basically a repeat because it was Albany State, Fort Valley 1-2.
Mm-hmm.
So basically a repeat of the Fountain City Classic going into the SIAC championship game. That's what they're saying so far, man. But you're absolutely right. As far as what Benedict is concerned. And I think, head coach Ron Dickerson coming in new sounded a lot like Chennis Berry as far as, what he said, as far as, just that attitude and enthusiasm and preaching and talking about the entire athlete. But I think what he brings in versus what he's going to have to do versus what Chennis Berry was able to do over the last 2 years was bring in players. He got started in the game late, man, and I think, he has quite a history. He's coached a lot of ball, but I think he has to get in with this culture, which I think they did well to bring in somebody that kind of fits what Benedict does in that brain trust. But at the same time, when you talk about Chennis Berry, who's been there, done that, done it all, you're talking about a person that took the job at South Carolina State. And basically took the team with him.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I got to pull it up here now. The order of finish: Albany State, Fort Valley State, Miles, Skegee, Benedict at 5, Edward Waters, Kentucky State, Savannah State, Central State, Clark Atlanta, Allen, Lane, Morehouse.
You talking about a whole lot of teams. I told somebody this at media day. You're talking about 6, maybe 7 squads that could possibly win that thing. This is probably as much parity as I've seen in this conference over a long time, man. We talking about the likes of Kentucky State being 7. They did a lot. Coach Felton Huggins over the last year, he's going into his second year coaching.
Changed that offense. State.
He did from a heavy, wishbone or triple option attack to a spread attack. I'm curious to see what he does in the next progression on that offense. That defense has always been there. Big, physical, thumping defense. And they showed some flashes last year. They were in some games. And so I'm curious to see where that is. But they're right in the middle of the pack. When you're talking about Tuskegee, who, give it a couple of games last year, man, they were right in the thick of things. And all of them, Miles, Tuskegee, Albany State, Fort Valley, all of them were in it up until the last week of the season. So, all of those teams return a whole lot of starters, man. You're talking about Kelvin Durham down there in Fort Valley at the quarterback position, Brandon Marshall being able to run that football. My man Harp, at linebacker. Albany State, brings back their signal caller. They're doing a few things different, but Quinn Gray in his second year running that team and running that offense, that's another team that was in heavy transition as well, going from a run first attack to a spread system like Quinn Gray is accustomed to, both when he came from Memphis and just him playing himself from Florida A&M, throwing that ball all around, man. So that's where they're at now, man. So it is interesting to see what these teams are going to do.
Yeah, obviously last year Benedict was kind of, like we talked about, head and shoulders above everybody else, but you had about 5 teams that was kind of all stacked together right there, and they all pretty much was very similar. They all pretty good defenses with offenses that could put up about 25, 30 points a game. Do you kind of see, I know you talked about it's anybody's game this year, but do you see kind of some of those teams that are in the tier below them kind of catching up to them a little bit when we talk about, maybe a team like Central State or Lane or somebody like that? Do you see them kind of getting closer to where the rest of the teams at?
Definitely Central State. I think, Kendall Boney at quarterback is an experienced leader. He's gotten playing time over the last 3 years. And so I think that team and what Coach Porter wants to do in implementing just he's been in that conference a long time at a couple of schools. So he already knew what it was when it came to what that squad needed to do. It was a really high-powered offense. They just couldn't stop anybody. And if you listen to, what they did, they lost games in the last drives and things of that nature, a touchdown or less. So that's one of those squads who eke up on people too, man. It's it'll never be a slow day in the SIAC. I mean, I know you got some bottom tier squads, some squads that are coming and one to look out for. I'm sure y'all will get to it, but Teddy Keaton going down there from Allen to Clark, Atlanta. Watch out for them, man. Watch out for them.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. One of my, I guess you could say, dark horses team I'm looking at that could possibly make some noise, at least shake things up, because they did it last year. Cardiac Cats, Edward Waters. How do you think that, what they bring back this year and, kind of the confidence they started building at the end of last year?
Man, I think they are definitely a dark horse. They're finally, full-fledged members of Division II, which they are proud of. Listen, when you're talking about, Dr. Faison, president of Edward Waters University, and athletic directors, just that entire school, man, they love Tiger football. Head coach Toriano Morgan has been waiting for this moment, man. I think he basically stated, to paraphrase him, we got a complete team. Now he'll be having some questions at quarterback as well, but that's still Florida. You're gonna find some boys that are fast, physical, and will tote the mail, and they'll throw the ball all around as well and play defense. They got, leading wide receiver Johnny Jones coming back, part of that crew that surprised some people last year. I called that Tuskegee game.
Yes.
And what I will tell you, man, is one of the best football games I've ever been a part of. Absolutely. They never quit. Could have probably won the game in the play before, but it was dropped. And then finally got that Hail Mary at the end. But I'll be curious to see who the quarterback is this year for them. John Russell is gone. And so I think it'll I'll be curious to see how that happens. But if they can get someone in that can kind of lead that offense, they'll be really good too, man. And they're not going to surprise people anymore. I think when they first got into the league, when they were, weren't full-fledged members and they were just, testing the waters, you could see the athleticism that they had in general. And so now, being part of the conference as a full member and them being able to kind of recruit, especially the state of Florida and that North Florida area, hey, man, watch out for what they do. Telling you, I think you're exactly right in calling them a dark horse.
Yeah. You talked about Clark Atlanta earlier. Obviously, last year they brought up the rear of the conference, but like you mentioned, got a new head man in charge there now. So, what's a realistic expectation for the type of improvement you can expect out of them?
I mean, you can't get much. You can't get any worse than they were last year. So I think, man, they could go from where they were in last place to the middle of the pack easily. Okay. I think when you're talking about Teddy Keaton, who's been everywhere and turned programs around everywhere he's been, and that kind of offensive mind, you bring your quarterback along. You bring a lot of players you had at Allen along with you to Atlanta, and you are getting the buzz. This is something that people have always talked about when it came to either Morehouse or it came to Clark Atlanta, the city of Atlanta. He is making a concerted effort to recruit the Atlanta metro area. And that's huge. That is huge because I think there are so many athletes in the Atlanta metro area that you can get some that can fit what you do as a team. So he's gone a long way to do that, to get some buzz about the program. And I think you're definitely going to see improvement in the first year. How much they improve, it just really, really, we'll see. Because what I'll tell you is, and this is just observing this team, they were small on a smaller side over the last few years. They just, so I think if they beef up their trench areas, especially, they have the offensive and defensive skill to be able to compete and get into at least the middle of the pack and may surprise some people as well.
Yeah. Speaking of Teddy Keaton in Clark Atlanta, if he's able to, get those guys from that area and stuff, not only will it, having that talent in the both of the football team, you start kind of naturally grabbing, some fanship, and get a lot more support for your squad, a lot more people showing up to games and stuff to watch and stuff. So yeah, that's gonna be big. That's gonna be key. But I want to talk about the other side of Atlanta, Morehouse. I'll be honest, underwhelmed. I was underwhelmed with the coaching hire they made. I felt like Welcher was trying to do some good things. He was, and it became very obvious he just wasn't the guy that they wanted. They moved on, and the guy they got, I don't know if that's the guy they wanted either, but I mean, that's who you're stuck with at this point.
Well, you have to understand a few things about Morehouse. They like certain people in their rooms. Mm-hmm. You're going to represent them a certain way. The term Morehouse man it is a real thing,
right?
And so, although Coach Welcher was an alum, played there, he was vocal about things that they needed done with the university, with the school, as far as being able to compete. I remember interviewing him before the Benedict game. He said, I'll paraphrase him, but basically Benedict's ability to move men around was the difference between where his program is and where that program was. Talking about the Benedict program. And so just getting in things where you had a comprehensive weight program, because Coach Wiltshire came from, a group of 5 before Rice, before he came back to Morehouse. So when you're talking about someone that that knows what a program is, not saying that he expected that to be the same, but just general stuff that the program needed to be better. He was vocal about asking for it. A couple of other things and, occurred, and he was very vocal. And I think that's what essentially, got him in a different place now. But he recognized what was going on. Now Coach Mathis, God-fearing man, really good interview at the media day, but he got hired late, kind of like Coach Wiltshire did the year before. And so I'll be curious to see what they do in general, because they lost a lot of players as well. Kamar Carlisle comes back at the quarterback position. So I'll be interested to see what happens. And you can kind of tell, those that got hired late, it's more like, as far as addressing the football, they didn't really do so, because I still think they have no idea what the approach in a lot of ways is going to be. But I think really right now this year is about getting stability. And I think building upon that is where those programs will go. But I think there'll be a lot of growing pains at BT Harvey.
Yeah. What do you see a team like Savannah State? How do you see them next year? Like, I know last year they struggled some, but that's a team program that's got some history, man. You know what I mean? And I don't know how long they're gonna be down, but I think that that's a program that does know how to compete and know how to win at a high level. So how long you see them being down, and what you think they look like next year?
Man, there's a lot of good teams in the SIAC. That's what I'm talking about as far as the parity is concerned, man, because Savannah State, in the first year of Aaron Kelton's program, you could see where they were improving. You could see, them turning around the program, kind of installing his idea of what he wanted for the football team. Last year kind of took a step back. Lost some games. They you could see them kind of like falling back to the pack. This year, the emphasis will be improving, and they have a really good quarterback that can lead them to this in Jaden Adams. He's been there a while. He knows the culture. So I think they'll be fine. It's just a matter of them shoring up that defense and seeing if they can stop people to go along with that attack. Where it was more of spread option attack a few years ago, now it's more of a downhill running attack with Adams being able to go over the top. And so I think they've recruited well during the summer. They have some size on that defensive line, especially. I think they'll surprise some people. But again, when you're talking about just those 6 or 7 teams we named earlier, man, you got to bring up your lunch pail every week because the parity is there.
Yeah. I don't necessarily want to. I guess we can slowly wrap up the SIAC. As far as we've talked about the order of finish, is that who you feel? Do you feel like Albany State is the eventual champ?
I think Fort Valley it will be the champ, actually. I think Fort Valley. I think what they bring both offensively and defensively, man, they have a lot of good returning players. I think, I talked to Coach Aaron James of Tuskegee as well. They're not sure of a signal caller, although I think Robertson last year showed some flashes. He said they got some guys coming in. They're also bringing in offensive coordinator Harry Williams, who's at Bama State. Yeah. That's going to be interesting because he likes to run the football as well. And so we'll see what the contrast will be, because I think they have players where they can sling the ball all over the field. I'm not necessarily sure how that'll kind of mesh, but they were teammates. They kind of know each other, so I'm sure they'll get that together. Tuskegee was also one of my dark horses. They could jump up there too. But Fort Valley is a complete team. Kelvin Durham being able to throw the ball all over the yard, but his running ability also gives them a different element. Brandon Marshall, man, can absolutely tote the mail. He has every intention of of being over 1,000 yards this year, shared carries last year. So Fort Valley is my interesting pick. If they can not lose games due to craziness or just, you know, having those seniors and those upperclassmen fortify what they do, I think that's who absolutely has the opportunity to win the conference.
I might be crazy for this.
Go ahead.
I got Miles.
That is the other one. That is the other one.
I'm gonna always pull for Tuskegee to get it done, but it's something I think the step forward that Miles took, you know, from 22 to 23. I think they take another step in 24, and you know, if I'm not mistaken, they were the closest team to Benedict. They actually had the best chance to knock Benedict off, and mental mistake, lapse in time. I don't know what to call it. Let them off the hook. You know, Dennis Green, they are who we said they are. Type moment. I just feel like Miles this year. I think Miles got it.
You wouldn't be wrong.
I wouldn't be wrong.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised. Let me say it like this. I'm not gonna say that I wouldn't be surprised, but like you said, the parity, it's kind of So
I'm with Jamie.
Again, I wouldn't be surprised.
I think it's Fort Valley. But like you say, Fort Valley, Albany, Miles, you know, you can any one of them three win it, you really ain't gonna be shocked at all. And honestly, I mean, Edward Waters, I could see them kind of winning a game or two that people ain't really expecting and finding themselves right there in the mix. You know what I mean? So
with no divisions, it makes it a whole.
It's really a toss up, bro. Yeah, for real.
Give so many kudos to Commissioner Anthony Holloman for making that decision about eliminating the divisions, because it gave you exciting football literally up to the last minute of play before they got into the championship games. Albany State didn't know they were going until, you know, the final result of the Tuskegee Miles game. So man, it was awesome. But you are exactly right about the Miles and Benedict game. I was there too, and you know, Miles was giving them the business, and then Benedict came back, and then Miles came back at the end, and then just let it go right at the end. But Coach Sam Shade talked about that squad, and he said what he learned, because his first year was rough. Last year, they brought in some pieces, and especially at the quarterback position, where they were able to kind of have that solidified, and it kind of, you know, stabilized everything that they were doing. So, you know, look for that again this year with the transfers coming into that program, being able to kind of take them to the next level. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they win.
Yeah. Switching over, CIAA. Let me go ahead and get their order of finish. Predicted order of finish: Virginia State, Virginia Union, Fayetteville State, Johnson C. Smith, Bowie State, Winston-Salem State, Shaw, Lincoln, Livingstone, Elizabeth City, and Bluefield State. I'm gonna be honest. I think the top two got a chance, and everybody else is kind of. Well, I ain't gonna say top two. I think anybody in the North has a chance, and everybody else is just, you know, enjoying their season.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, I think they are divisionless this year as well.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, it's gonna be interesting just how that goes with St. Aug not playing this year due to, you know, their unfortunate situation. Man, they kind of just had, you know, everyone kind of scrambled. But yeah, it's wild, man, because you know, Virginia Union, well, Virginia State being picked number one was actually a huge shock. Although they had some massive wins last year, especially that one against Norfolk State. So yeah, I mean, they bring back everybody. It's going to be interesting. But Virginia Union, you know, playoff bound last year. You know, Jada Byers, you know, being at that running back position, man, he is the man when it comes to toting the mail. Fayetteville State has been there for the last few years. You know, Coach Richard Hayes just seems to be able to galvanize that squad and do everything that they need to do to win, even though their offense really their offenses never really do put it together for them to make that championship run, even though they were able to finally get over the hump last year. And then, you know, when you're talking about John C. Smith, you know, Maurice Flowers coming from the SIAC last year up to his alma mater, and John C. Smith, you saw them in the Florida Beach Bowl. You see them having pieces. And I think here now in his third year, you'll see that team continue to improve. So I think, you know, you're talking about those, just those 4 squads right there having an opportunity to do some things. I think John C. Smith jumps into that next ascension as well, maybe overtaking Fayetteville State. We'll see. I'll be interested to see that. But, you know, the rest of the pack, Winston-Salem State will be improved. You know, even though they lost their offensive coordinator, Chris Barnett, to Bama State. I think they got a lot going on. And I think the rest of those squads, man, are just still seeking to improve. Livingstone shows some flash. You know, and, you know, Bluefield State going through a coaching change. Coach Tony Coxon no longer there. And that was an interesting.
That was a surprise.
Yeah, it was, because I think Coach was getting them in the right place. But I think he's at the Citadel now. Wish him well. You know, so it'll be interesting to see what Bluefield State does. But, you know, when you talk about the rest of those squads, CIAA will be competitive this year as well.
Yeah, I think the North is kind of carrying the rock right now for the conference. But I think that the South is kind of a little more competitive top to bottom as far as the parity. You know what I mean? I think it's kind of anybody's game in the South. You know, I think you wouldn't be surprised if, like you mentioned, Winston-Salem or Livingstone or somebody like that found themselves right there in the mix to win the South. But the North they just got them 2 Virginia schools, bro. That's just.
Don't forget about Bowie State as well.
Yeah,
don't forget about Bowie
State. That's
State.
true. That is true. And I don't want to forget about Lincoln either, because I feel like they head in the right direction. Also, I feel like they might be a year away though. You know, if they can keep building on what they got going, I think they might be a year away in the North.
And you know, that Isaiah Freeman up there at quarterback, man, he has shown the ability to be able to play. So I think they'll also be right in the thick of things as well, man. But I do think you're right, and I think they are a year away. They're building that thing from the ground up.
Yeah.
You know, and I think they're not everybody's homecoming anymore. You know what I'm saying? They're not, you know, that squad that you think you just gonna beat and, you know, call it a day. They are putting together a really good program.
I'm not gonna say it's because just like we talked overall with the SIAC, I don't necessarily think it's this school head, you know, saying leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else. But like Ant said, I gotta lean towards one of them Virginia schools to win it all.
Oh, naturally, man. Naturally, I think you wouldn't go wrong. You flip a coin between Union and State and say, hey, who's gonna win this thing? Because I mean, both of those squads have built, you know, really good programs. They made great coaching hires a few years ago, and are in the mix of being able to just go ahead and win. The winner of that game may very well be the you know, right back in the championship game, kind of like I said about the Fountain City Classic in the SIAC. So we'll see, man. I mean, but again, you got Bowie, you know, the likes of Bowie State hanging around there, man. Coach Kyle Jackson knows how to win, and we'll see if they can piece together everything to kind of make that run. But right now, the Virginia schools have it.
Yeah. On this side, my dark horse, Fayetteville State. How do they seem? Or I ain't gonna say how do they seem? Do they come back? You know, as far as personnel and you know and the likes. You know, are they still in a position to compete?
I think they're still in the position to compete, and really, it's primarily because of the coaching staff. Richard Hayes has built a program to where they can interchange those parts and still be successful. Now, they have lost some talent over the last few years, and you can kind of see where the football team is going. But because of their coaching staff and their cohesiveness, they've been able to just keep that team steady enough. Now, again, I've never really liked what they've done offensively because they don't score a whole lot of points. But their schedule, if you look up and down their schedule, they play some tough opponents. And so, when you're looking at the way they start off in the season playing really good, the UNC Pembroke squad, or like a Valdosta or teams of that ilk, they get ready for the CIAA season doing that. Shaw University, don't forget about them as well. You got Sidney Gibbs, running back extraordinaire, but they always seem to kind of falter at the end. So it's about really just having that senior leadership to be able to get them over the hump. But Fayetteville State is definitely still up there. No one will count them out until you beat them completely.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about playoffs. CIAA, SIAC, both. Benedict has, run the table, 2 years in a row, got to the playoffs and fell short, stunk it up. Let's be honest. Is anybody right now in either conference built to make a run?
Great question. I would have thought Benedict was last year.
I agree.
Because I think they had the most complete team coming out of HBCU D2 football. To be totally honest with you, they there were some things offensively that might have been not up to snuff to a degree to go into the playoffs, but I thought they were a complete team. They had receivers on the outside. They had a stable of running backs, but just could not get it done. And they were in the game. Like, it wasn't a thing where they got blown out or things of that nature or couldn't handle the pressure. It was just more so, Lenore Ryan, I think, made some plays at the end and just, was able to overtake Benedict at the end, man. But, I think it says something, and a lot of people question, our squads based on the playoffs, whether or not we should continue in really both divisions. But at the same time, I think a team like a Fort Valley, because what I look for in playoff football, a lot of the times where it's getting a little colder, you're outside playing, is balance. Also a quarterback that can make plays as well. And I think you put together those entire pieces like a Kelvin Durham, again, who can use his arm as well as his legs, and then be able to run the football and play really good defense. Shout out to Coach Jones down there at Fort Valley, but defensive coordinator. But yeah, I think, that's a team that I think could either that or a very good offensive or dynamic offensive passing attack. I'm curious to see what Tuskegee looks like in that regard, because I think there are two passing attacks in the SIAC that I really like. Them, and it'll be Clark Atlanta will be the other with David Wright. If you can perhaps get one of those squads, or really just an offensive attacking team, because I think, as much as, we grew up with defense wins championships, and that's great in theory, but you got to score points. And I think we're in this period of time, man, where if you can get a dynamic offense that can compete and go back and forth and just tread water on defense, I think you just have a better chance. So I think Fort Valley shows that to me to some degree. And then if you're talking about a CIAA squad, it's interesting. Union with Jada Byers, I remember in their playoff game, they went to Kutztown, if I'm not mistaken. And that game just it was ugly early because Kutztown had a really good offense. And so if you're one-dimensional on offense, you're going to have a long day. You just are. And I think their passing attack wasn't good enough to move forward. Same thing that I felt about Fayetteville State a few years ago when they traveled down to Mississippi. I think they went to Delta State. Delta State is a perennial D2 power. And so when you don't bring your A game, you don't have enough balance to be able to compete with what they're doing. You're going to have a long day. So I right now, it's too hard to say who. But right now, if I were looking at just the personnel that I know is going to be at Fort Valley, that's who I would say would have a chance.
Yeah, I think too many times we like to lean on the defense. The defense wins championship mantra, but I think in every sport, you know what I mean, it's starting to change and move toward the offensive game. You know what I mean? With the athletes everybody has and the way you can manipulate space in every sport these days, all the rule changes, it just benefits the offensive side. And so you kind of doing yourself a disservice if you're not focusing on that side of the ball and at least making that side of the ball as equal to, if not stronger than your defense.
Exactly.
Yeah. Jamie, I'm gonna ask this. As we get close to wrapping up, games that you got circled for this season that you can't wait for.
Oh man, I got quite a few of them.
I see you. I saw your face light up when I asked too.
I'm gonna start off without giving a date. I'm gonna start. In the CIAA, Union against State.
Yeah,
I think that's who the winner of that game has a great chance, of course, to get into the championship game. But I think you may see two things happen this year with it being divisionless. They could play twice. Yeah. I also think the same thing for Fort Valley and Albany State. They'll play the last week of the season, and they could very well play in the SIAC championship the following week. Looking forward to seeing Tuskegee and Elwood Waters again in Jacksonville. That game, was so exciting last year. I want to see the encore. So definitely looking forward to seeing that. Tuskegee and Miles should be interesting this year, only because I think you're talking about evenly matched squads. Really, if they get the quarterback position straight, both of those defenses bring something. I would also say Allen versus Clark Atlanta.
That's the one
that's going to be
right there.
That is going to be interesting because these teams will know each other well.
Yep. A little bit of bad blood.
Oh yeah.
Jamie, I guess parting words. Thoughts on what this season can be, 2024.
Man, 2024 could be a great year. Really, HBCU football all the way around, both divisions. Because I think in Division I, I think parity is the word this year. I think what people are starting to do is navigate that transfer portal into what it can be for HBCU football. And now that you see that, or now that you see what's happening with it, you're getting the right people in place to be able to navigate it and putting some pieces in place for you to actually improve your squad. Now, whether or not you can keep them there is where the really great coaches and coaching staffs will be. So I think parity. I think you're seeing some really good squads up and down the spectrum for really Division I and Division II. If you're talking Division II totally, in the SIAC and the CIAA, you're talking about probably 4 or 5 squads that could win in the CIAA. I'm still sticking to this. You're talking about 6 or 7 squads that could be right up there in the SIAC. So parity's the word this year for me.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever had a season where that I can remember where the MEAC didn't have a clear-cut favorite. SWAC didn't necessarily have a clear-cut favorite. SIAC and CIAA. So
yeah. That's true.
MEAC, man.
Oh, go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say the MEAC is interesting because Chennisberry going to South Carolina State, a lot of buzz going on up there, man. It just is, but you got the defending Chance Howard, who it doesn't feel on social media that they are even getting any props accounted. But you talking about that downhill running, yeah. But you talking about that downhill running attack, and I think they will improve at the quarterback position. Not to Quentin Williams was there a long time and played a lot of football. But I think if they get a balanced attack, being able to throw the football, watch out for them. Morgan State, if they can muster any kind of offense at all to complement what that defense is going to bring, watch out for them. So up and down that squad, man, up and down that conference, there is no clear-cut winner.
What's one thing you want to see this year? No matter which conference, just what's one thing that you hoping that you get to see this year?
Wow. Great question. Man, you got me. I want to see the credit due to these coaching staffs. I think a lot of times, because you're seeing, and we talked about it at SWAC Media Day, the amount of new coaches coming into the leagues in the transition. I'm looking for some stabilization, but they got to give some credit to these staffs and being able to say they can coach football, man. I think a lot of times, they don't get the props they deserve. And we got a lot of great coaches throughout HBCU football. And so I think they should finally get their just due.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
I'm glad you mentioned the coaching staffs. Of the new coaches, because the carousel's been wild, of the new coaches that have found new homes, who finds the most success this season?
James Cozy, Florida A&M. If we're talking D2s, it's hard to call him a new coach because he's not a new coach. But Teddy Keaton and Clark Atlanta, I think he'll have the most improved squad.
I was
SIAC.
Teddy Keaton.
Yeah. I think that's a given. But I'm not gonna say it's hard to impress me, but when you're talking about one of these people that made me an instant believer, James Cozy made me one immediately. And I understand, I tweeted this out. I understand why that brain trust and why that faithful wanted him at the helm, because you're going to see some different things with them this year. Not to even say they'll win it, because I think it's still hard. They got to go out and perform. But as far as what his approach is, it's going to be different than Coach Willie Simmons. But I think it'll be effective, very effective.
More likely to get a team in the playoffs, is it the SWAC or MEAC or the D2 teams?
Oh, it's gonna be the D2 team. That's automatic. If I went to the D1 squads though, I hate this. Because it's gonna sound a certain way, but it is what it is. The schedules that the MEAC plays, by virtue of not having that many teams, lends them to have a playoff squad, or a squad get in the playoffs, because they're going to play enough playoff teams. And if somebody wins and has quality wins that doesn't get in the Celebration Bowl, they'll be in there. That squad to be in.
So our boy Zach Blue, he had mentioned possibility of Jackson State hosting the playoff game if they beat ULM, but they would have to lose to Alabama State or somebody like that, to where they don't win the Celebration Bowl or don't make it to the Celebration Bowl, only have one loss, but have a FBS win on their resume. I mean, I don't know how likely that is, but I think the possibility of that would be pretty dope.
I think so too. I would love to see a playoff game at the Vet.
Yeah, man.
That would be must see. I would have to be there. I would have to be there because I've been in that stadium during SWAC championship games, and what I can tell you is the atmosphere is second to none. So I think they would absolutely turn out for that. But he's right. If they get that W against ULM, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, ULM got 58 new players, dog. So it's very possible.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah. Well, man, Jamie, as always, brother, it's been good having you on. Enjoy talking with you. Enjoy seeing you.
Absolutely, man.
You know, and fellowshipping. I guess you say fellowshipping. That's what they say.
Indeed, man. You know, we're gonna do some things. You know, we'll play catch up and be in a stadium near you. You know what it is.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. M1 says about the MEAC has had teams. Yeah, they just had one last year. North Carolina Central went last year to the playoff. And if not for, I guess, you know, Davis getting banged up, they might have won that and made some noise. Yeah, it made some noise the next round because Richmond got mollywopped.
They did.
So
they did.
I'm sorry, I'm just looking at them battle back and forth in the chat. But man, Jamie, before you get ready to get up out of here, go ahead and tell the people where they can find you and anything else you need to plug or let people know about.
Man, listen, HBCU Wired, man, is my contribution to HBCU football outside of me announcing. But you'll definitely catch me in an SIAC game, either doing play-by-play or color commentary this year on ESPN Plus or another medium near you. So every week, you know, we're bringing the mail, man. So hey, watch out. And you can follow me on Twitter at SportVoiceJW and on Instagram, SportVoiceJW.
Told you I gotta get you and Mo on the show together because y'all like the voice the men.
Listen, watch out for Mo, man. I'm not gonna spill the beans, but watch out for Mo.
Yeah,
Mo got some big things coming.
Yeah, he doing big
things,
man. Yeah, he does, man.
Yeah,
yeah, man. Always good to see him, man. Always good. Man, it's this that I went by kind of fast. I gotta check, make sure I still got somewhere to live. Make sure because I might be in trouble. I'm telling you, I kid you not. You started talking, Jamie, and I was like, what is that noise? It was Noah pulled up for a minute, says y'all like, so it's bad out there. But man, we'll be back on Monday. Actually Monday we'll have Travis Jerome, SID from Jackson State, will be on with us. We'll get to talk to him, and yeah, I know Adrian gonna be in the comments acting the fool. So Adrian, come be on your best behavior Monday, Travis family. So all right, man, let's go ahead and get up out of here. Like that, we out. This show was presented by betonline.ag.
Bring me my money.